Good afternoon and welcome to this Uni Taster Tuesday. My name is John. I'm here from UniTasterDays and I'm going to be hosting this event today where we're going to be looking at reasons to consider university, maybe a bit on the pros and cons of university, and also some tips in terms of what's next for you if you are considering university. I'm delighted today to be joined by Liam. Liam's joining us from Staffordshire University, and also Sue. Sue is joining us from the University of Sunderland, and we're as excellent speakers talking about this very subject. Both sessions are going to be around 10, 15, 20 minutes-ish, looking at each aspect. So if you're watching this live and thinking about your day ahead, the whole event is going to be about 45 minutes. Or if you're watching back on the recording, at unitasterdays.com/Tuesdays. I hope you find it really, really handy. I'll introduce our first speaker though, that's Sue Gray. Sue is a Student Recruitment Assistant with the University of Sunderland, and Sue's going to talk about the reasons to consider university. Over to you, Sue.
Hi everybody, good morning, or rather good afternoon now. It's quite sunny up here in Sunderland today. So I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the reasons to consider university. So why should you come to university? So I've got a few slides for you today, and we're going to give you a little bit of an understanding on what is a higher education to start with. Well, I'm sure you all know that higher education is something that you do after school and after college. It takes place at a university or a further education college, and it's normally undergraduate, and then you can move on to postgraduate study. Higher education gives you the chance to study something that you love. Okay, so it gives you something that you can study in depth. It's something that you are interested in, and it's something that you choose. There's also quite often in most undergraduate degrees, lots and lots of optional modules that you can choose, so you can actually specialize your own degree. So another reason, you can get a first true taste of freedom. So what do we mean by your first taste of freedom? Well, you can live alone for a start, or you can live with a group of friends. You can do what you want. You can do when you want. You can cook, or you can not cook. You know, you can watch TV when you want. You can come in when you want. You can go out when you want. But most of all, you can make your mistakes yourself, and you can learn from them. But what's more, in this kind of independence and freedom topic, it allows you to build yourself. It allows you to build yourself some self-confidence, and it allows you to meet loads and loads of new people. So the next thing is about gaining a qualification that is internationally recognised. The UK has some of the best education systems in the world, and these qualifications are really, really desired around the world. So if working internationally is something that you would like to do, this is the perfect opportunity. People around the world love and recognise UK qualifications, and what's more, we'll be able to give you the opportunity also of studying abroad within some of the degree courses that are on offer. So the next thing really is a little bit about developing some of the skills that you would need in your career and your working life. So we're talking about skills here, not necessarily qualifications. Things like group work. When you're studying at university, it's not just about handing in assignments. Quite often, your assignments might be in the part of a presentation. Some courses use problem-based learning. There's lots of research going on, and you build up a bank of these skills that employers really, really like. It allows you to build up skills like dedication, like resilience, and these are the things that employers are looking for by the time you leave your degree. So the next thing is money. We all know that we work to earn money. Now, a graduate of any degree is more likely to earn money than a non-graduate. So the average salary is 30% higher. Now, I've got a graph to show you here, and this shows you the difference between the salaries of a graduate and a non-graduate. And as you can see, the blue line at the top shows you what a graduate would earn, and the orange line at the bottom, it shows you what you would earn if you were working towards GCSEs only. So the next thing is about student life. Okay, so everybody understands that being a student, you have to study. And that's true. You do have to study. You do have to work hard. However, uni is also about having a little bit of fun. There are absolutely loads and loads of clubs and societies. There's a real diverse range of social life on offer. You can start your own club, or you can join a club that already exists. The sporting facilities on most universities are fantastic. There are gyms on offer, there are courts on offer, there are football teams, there are basketball teams. There is such a vast range of clubs and societies that you can join. So let's have a little think about how we do this. What's next? So what are the routes into higher education? Well, there are various. So you can come to university and you can do a full-time degree, which is normally 3 years for an undergraduate degree. You can do a sandwich placement, which means you do 4 years and then you do a placement with an employer for a year. You can even study abroad for a year. Some people choose to stay at home. Some people choose to live away from home. Some people choose to study part-time. So you can tailor your degree however you want to study. So there's lots and lots of different routes. There's lots and lots of different ways that you can study. It's not just A-levels. There are lots and lots of different qualifications that will allow you to earn your tariff points with UCAS. The most traditional routes are A-levels, but that's not to say that you can't study lots and lots of different topics and lots of different qualifications in order to get your UK tariff points. So if you look on the screen there is a range of ways that you can get your tariff points, but this is by no means an exhaustive list. So I do hope that has helped you a little bit today. I will hang around if anybody has any questions about coming to university and why you should come to university. But other than that, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Sue. Really appreciate that introduction to the reasons to consider university and also looking at some of the routes, because what a lot of often students will do is think you just need to go to university to do a bachelor's course, but it's great to outline some of the other routes into university as well. Our next speaker is Liam. Liam is an Education Liaison Officer and he works for Staffordshire University. And Liam's going to talk about the pros and cons of higher education. But also, as well as that, Liam's also going to talk about some of the next steps to be aware of if you are considering university. So, Liam, I'll pass the floor to you, please.
Hi, John. Thanks for that. So, as John mentioned, my name is Liam. I'm from Staffordshire University, one of the Education Liaison Officers there. And today I'm going to be talking to you about the pros of university, what the cons may be, and also what's next, what's your next steps, and what can you do from here. So, as I just mentioned, we'll be touching on the pros and cons. We'll also be talking about adaptability, so for you as a student, and what's next. So, going to university, what are the pros? We've listed some on screen, but I think it's important to know that it's going to be different for everybody. So, whoever you're sat next to, or if you're thinking of someone else in your family who's been to university, the pros for university aren't always the same. So we've put there independence. So you might be thinking of moving away from home and gaining independence that way. It might be the independence of your study, so working out your diary. It could be it's actually specialised study. So you might be studying lots of different things at the moment, whether that be at sixth form or college or in school. When you go to university, you can specialise on just one subject if that's what you're interested in. So often students find that as a pro. Sometimes you might think there's some things you're studying at the moment that you maybe quite not enjoy as others. So this is a chance when you go to university just to focus on that one thing. One of the massive pros is, of course, you get your degree. And once you've got that degree, nobody can take that away from you. You'll always have that. You can put it on all of your job applications Again, no one will take that from you. I mentioned the specialised study, so it might be specialised equipment that comes alongside that. There might be facilities at universities that you perhaps haven't worked with before that you're really interested in doing so. And there's many different skills you'll pick up. It might not just be professional skills, but there'll also be personal skills that will develop. I'm going to touch on part-time work in a second. So what are the cons of going to university? Usually the answers we get when we ask students about the cons is, of course, student finance and that debt that students find themselves in after they finish university. I would just want to say at this point, please, please, please don't worry about student finance. There's lots of information just on UniTasterDays website, and there's lots more information everywhere about this. The more research you do on your student finance, the more comfortable you'll feel about that. I mentioned earlier one of the pros of going to university was independence, but that could also be one of the cons. If you've never cooked for yourself or had to do your own cleaning, then that's something you're going to have to learn to do if you do move away. It might be you don't have those home comforts. So where one student might find that a pro of university is moving as far away as they can from home, for you that might be different. It might be you want to stay at home. So everything is always different. And I touched before on part-time work. So one of the cons of going to university is you can't work full-time. It's very demanding completing all of your studies, but part-time work can be accessed whilst you're at university. So if you can manage those two things, that will really help you out. And I said earlier we were going to talk about how you can be adaptable, and it's about the survival of the adaptable, as we've got there as our title. We think it's important that you can adapt to the shift in the job market. So when you're ready to make your next step, you're at the top of your game. So you've got all the skills that you need. But choosing a course can be extremely difficult. If you were to buy a car, some of you may be in that process now where you're looking at buying your first car. There's lots of different things that you would need to consider. So it's very much the same when you're looking at a university course. How long is it going to be? What are the modules that are going to be studying? What are the optional modules? What's the course going to be taught? So is it going to be distance learning? Is it all going to be face-to-face? Is it going to be part of a sandwich year? So will you get a placement year where you can work in industry? There's lots and lots of different factors. So it's important to start considering all of those as early as you can. And the earlier you start to do that, the better your choice will be and the more reassured you'll be when you actually enroll at your university. It's also important to consider the entry requirements. So when we're talking about those courses and how you make that choice, what is it that you need in order to enroll on that course? Is there specific qualifications that you need? Do you need to be studying certain subjects? Is it the fact at some universities you just need to ensure you've got a certain amount of UCAS points? The price may differ across different universities. So one university, if you wanted to study one subject and you were thinking of studying that same subject somewhere else, although it's the same subject, the entry requirements could be slightly different. So just be clear on what you need in order to enroll on both those courses, and be aspirational with some of your choices as well. You can apply for up to 5 courses, so you might want to be aspirational with one of your choices and realistic with some of the others. So once you've found that course, you might have narrowed it down to the course that you want to do, but it's important to consider the location. Whilst we were discussing the pros and the cons earlier, I mentioned moving away from home, how that could be beneficial to you. It might not be. Location can be really, really important. It's perhaps a little bit trickier at the moment because of everything that's going on in the climate. You might not be able to visit certain universities or certain areas, but the more research you can do, the better this is. If you know where you're going to be, it might be how long your commute's going to be, the kind of accommodation that you're going to be staying in. That can be just as important as the course which you decide to study. Open days are one of the big things that I recommend students all do. So you've thought about the pros, you've thought about the cons. You've thought about where you want to go. You've got the course that you want to do. So you might have a few choices, and from there you need to make your decision. Open days are a great opportunity to do this, and it'll give you a chance to ask those all important questions. I've just put a few examples on screen, so you might want to find out what the course actually entails. What are the modules that I'm going to be studying? What are the core modules that I'll have to do? And what options could I study alongside some of those core modules? You might want to know how many people are going to be in your cohort. You might want to know more information on the career opportunities afterwards. There's loads and loads of questions that you might have. That's the place to go where you can get them all answered at the same time. If you can attend an open day physically, it might give you the chance to have a feel for that university. I always recommend students try and visit as many as they can, and you'll get a feel from when you go onto a university, yes, this is right for me, or actually, I think I prefer the other university in the other setting. It gives you a chance to speak to the staff. It might be face-to-face, it might be virtually, and you can start to build a rapport with those staff members and start to feel comfortable. Open days are a chance to speak to current students as well. I think it's really important that you speak to current students. It gives you a voice from those who've got their feet on the ground at the moment. They can tell you what different things are like that staff might not be able to tell you. So they might be able to tell you a bit more about the accommodation, how that works. They might be able to tell you about the local landscape. What can you do in the area? What opportunities are there for students in the area? So I think that's really invaluable. And of course, you can also ask them questions about your studies as well. On open days, you might find that you can actually receive some help with your application. So there might be certain parts that you're studying that you're struggling with. It's a great opportunity to get that help there that you need. And again, as I've already mentioned, you can just see those facilities, see what you're going to be using on a day-to-day basis. So just a couple of things to remember. Even though someone tells you that's what I'm really looking forward to about university, that doesn't have to be the same for you. The pros and cons for university are going to be different for everybody. University might give you that educational freedom. So as I mentioned, you might be studying 3 or 4 subjects at the moment. You can really hone in on that one choice that you want to do. Helps you develop some of those skills that employers seek. So if you were to go straight into employment, you might not get some of the skills that you can at university. And it also gives you extra strings to your bow when you're putting that job application together. I've developed all these different skills in a different environment. It allows you for potential higher earnings. So you can just do a quick search on any job market at the moment. You'll see how many different jobs are looking for undergraduate degrees. So therefore you've got access to those. It allows you to grow on a personal level as well, because you'll always be meeting new people. But you must ensure that university is the right decision for you. And the only way to do that is just by doing more and more research. That's all from staffs. Hope that's been beneficial to you, and we wish you all the best of luck with your applications.
Thank you very much, Liam. That was Liam joining us from Staffordshire University. Liam is an Education Liaison Officer, and a really excellent presentation again, like Sue's, particularly like you mentioned about location, Liam, and that's one thing that I sometimes work with schools and students, and one thing students often overlook is location. And I can't remember where it was I read it, but I read a couple of years back that I think they quoted 40% of students actually end up living in the area they studied after they finish university. And the reason that is you might well get a part-time job, and that job becomes full-time once you finish uni, or you might meet a long-term partner and you've both got university in common, so you end up living in that area afterwards. So what I'd suggest to you, as well as picking a university course that's great for you, do not overlook where it actually is, and make sure it's a place that you actually potentially could see yourself living in the future, because it's really important to do so. A big thank you now, just to finish off, to our speakers. That was Sue, who opened things up. Sue joined us from the University of Sunderland, and Sue spoke about the reasons to consider university participation, so thank you, Sue. And then the second presentation was from Liam, looking at the pros and cons of uni and an idea of what is next. I hope you found this event useful, whether you joined live or watch back at UniTasterDays.com/Tuesdays. We run events like this every single week at 12 and 2. Hope you found the event useful. Do take care. See you all soon. Goodbye.